would you guys rather watch something fun or something serious and political? I will preface it with this. I don't know what the fun thing is going to be, but the unfun thing would be the Karmelo Anthony situation. So, I don't know. Let me know what y'all feel like, and then that will probably be the last video that we watch because it's getting kind of late. What do y'all think? I do have some fun stuff on the give us the explainer for the Carmelo Anthony situation. Like you want to do? So, well, I guess the Carmelo Anthony situation is the gentleman who they just gave a fuck ton of prison time because he got to an altercation with so I think he how old is he? Let's get mad. Political. All right. Let's get mad. We're gonna get mad. Okay. All right. Let's get to the business. All right. Hold on. Okay. So I'm of two minds on the Carmelo Anthony case and what we should listen to. Should we do the Stephen A. Smith video? And like I don't like Stephen A. Smith because he's like such a I don't know, like he's always trying to do like the black Republican centrist isms, but he is interesting. It might be interesting to get his take on it. But also Philip DeFranco did a video on it, and I do love Philly D. Do we have any preference on who we want to get the breakdown on, and then analyze it? Let me know what you think. I feel like we might get more info on the Philly D one. Yeah, why don't we do that one? All right, hold on. Un momento. And you know what? The Philly D segment, I think, is only a few. Tosh said no preference. I don't like Stephen A's political takes. Yeah, me neither. Yeah, but you know what I mean, Tosha, where he's like always trying to be like a black Republican about things. You know what I mean? Like he'll meet with someone. They'll be like, yeah, I just think black people should have rights. He goes, well, we all got opinions. He's so fucking annoying. I think the Philly D segment on the situation is kind of short too, so we could probably do both. That might be a good way of knowing it. All right, hold on. Let me also add that to the list. The Stephen A one is gonna definitely piss me off for sure. Thank you. Toaster said absolutely every time he loves dancing on the line. Yeah, and it's so crazy because like he be dancing on the line of like, he loves to dance on the like. should gay people have rights? what an insane. Should women be in the workplace? Goofy. You know what's crazy though? He would have won the election like 30 years ago though. All right, let's do it.
We've got to talk about what's really going on with the Karmelo Anthony murder case. It's blowing up online and has ignited a new culture war firestorm. Dive deeper into the Belfast attack that sparked a dangerous riot. Make sense of the bricks and minifigs reckless Ben GoFundMe twist that no one expected in that Lego scandal. And break down what last night's primaries exposed about Graham Plattner, Maine, and Nevada. We're talking about all of that and even more on today's brand new Philip DeFranco show. You daily dive into the news, so buckle up, hit that like button, and let's just jump into it. Starting with this. Karmelo Anthony has been found guilty of murder for the fatal stabbing of Austin Metcalf and sentenced to 35 years in prison. And despite lawyers on actually both sides saying that race had nothing to do with what happened, the case continues to be thrust into the national spotlight by those who argue that this and a handful of other cases show that the Western world is facing an epidemic of violence against white people. And so let's start with what happened, right? This goes back to April of 2025 when both Anthony...
Sorry. Not to jump in almost immediately. Sorry. I want to make sure I understand this, that the right, okay. So the right is trying to tell me, so I understand it. The right is trying to tell me that in a country in which the white supremacist, pedophile, rapist president has employed a group of Gestapo-like black bagging agents that are specifically going after people who look Hispanic in any way. In that country, there's a rise in violence against white people. I just want to make sure I understand what they're saying. Okay. Hey, you know what? I'm going to wait until we get to Stephen A. because I'm sure he'll have a nuanced take on that. Jesus.
And Metcalf were 17 years old. And what's generally agreed on is this. Their high school track teams were taking part in a district-wide meet in Frisco, Texas. It started raining, and Anthony ended up in a tent belonging to Metcalf's school. Metcalf then arrived at the tent along with his teammates, including his twin brother, and told Anthony to leave. There's a confrontation followed that ended with Anthony pulling a pocket knife out of his bag, stabbing Metcalf in the chest, who was then pronounced dead shortly after arriving at a local hospital. But then beyond that, the details have been disputed in court. The defense said that Anthony had actually been invited to the tent, but that when Metcalf and his brother arrived, both of whom were much larger than Anthony, they told him to leave, saying Metcalf pushed Anthony while his brother stood nearby, for all Anthony knew, ready to jump in. With the defense telling jurors that Metcalf had, quote, no legal right to put his hands on Karmelo, and that Anthony had to make a split-second decision about whether his life was in danger. And ultimately arguing that prosecutors failed to prove Anthony did anything but defend himself. Or with them also arguing that the stabbing had been carried out under what's known as sudden passion, telling the jury, decisions made in the heat of the moment are different than decisions that come after reflection. They called a few witnesses to the stand, including students and Anthony's former coach, who spoke to Anthony's character and academic success. But then you also had the prosecution calling nearly 24 witnesses, including several eyewitnesses, and several of them rejected the idea that this was self-defense, with some acknowledging that Metcalf pushed Anthony to get him to move after asking him several times to leave, but not in a way that justified deadly force. You also had some witnesses saying that Anthony already had his hand in his backpack when Metcalf approached him, and saying that Anthony threatened Metcalf, with one testifying that Anthony had told Metcalf, touch me and find out, and ultimately with the prosecution pretty much summing up their argument in one statement, saying, with one testifying that Anthony had told Metcalf, touch me and find out, and ultimately with the prosecution pretty much summing up their argument in one statement, saying, you don't get to meet a shove with a stab, especially if you provoke the shove. And so then with all that, you had the judge also allowing the jury to consider manslaughter charges, or which would carry to a sentence of up to 20 years in prison, but it took them less than 3 hours.
Folks, if you're not subscribed now, make sure you subscribe to the BBC. We have an ad coming in 15 seconds. You can subscribe for $5.99 or for free with a Twitch Prime. M said, does Castle Doctrine apply to tents? It does if you're white. It does.
To agree on the first-degree murder conviction. A conviction that could have actually carried a maximum sentence of 99 years, but they decided on 35. And while he was otherwise tried as an adult, the death penalty hadn't been considered since Anthony was a minor at the time of Metcalf's death. But also the fact that it's only prison time, it's something that many on the right have taken issue with people like Congressman Randy Fine, MAGA influencer Matt Walsh, alleged human trafficker Tristan.
Wait, hold on. Let me see what these fucking cocksuckers said. Randy Fine said Anthony deserves a death penalty. Anything less is unacceptable. Hey, my nigga, until you get on those Ozempic, I don't want to hear what you got to say.
Fine, MAGA influencer.
Matt Walsh said, no, I don't enjoy this outcome. I would have preferred that he was executed. In fact, in a just society, he'd already be buried in the prison cemetery. But since that's not on the table, then I'll take this outcome as second best. I just want everyone to remember that this is the man who thinks that you should be able to marry girls once they hit puberty. Just so we understand that this is someone that has like fantasies and ideations of pedophilia. This is his opinion to give you some perspective. You know what I mean? Happy Goat 6 said the only way to stop murdering children is murder more children. Exactly. Exactly right. And couldn't have said it better myself. Fucking animals. Happy Goat. Have you been in chat before? I'm sorry. Or do I know you? If you're new, I just want to say, if you're new, welcome to the chat. Thanks for jumping in. If I know you, sorry, I forgot what your handle was. But yeah, it's fucking insane. It's absolutely, and like, it's so crazy because like, they only feel this way because this is a black man, 100%. A while back, yeah. Well, thanks for coming back, Happy Go. I'm not sure if You've been here since, but we made affiliate. We did it, folks. And a lot of that was thanks to you. So welcome back. All right.
Matt Walsh, alleged human trafficker.
And then the human trafficker with hair says Karmelo Anthony death by firing squad immediately after the first failed appeal, a televised live. What? You know what's so crazy to me? Like, you want a death penalty, my nigga. If this logic applied, you and your brother, who are absolutely sex traffickers, allegedly absolutely sex traffickers, would be facing the same thing. Like, listen, every dumb fuck saying that, oh, a black kid did a crime so he should be killed, I think is heinous and insane and it's dumb. But like, actual people who are most definitely criminals saying it is fucking insane to me. Like, it gives the game away immediately.
Tristan Tate and far-right commentator Nick Fuentes all...
See, now this is my problem. And I love Philly D. I've been watching Philly D forever. But, like, he's not a right-wing extremist. This is a self-described neo-Nazi and white supremacist. To clarify, that's who this is. And Nick Fuentes said, Karmelo Anthony deserves the death penalty. He was clearly motivated by nothing other than pure racial hatred for white men, just like the Sheikh killer in the UK, or the Sikh killer in the UK. The courts need to make an example out of this piece of shit to send a message that this evil won't be tolerated. Except, like, Nick Fuentes wants this to happen to black people. Right? Like, if in his mind this is a racially motivated thing, like, that's what you want. You like this. You don't like it when it's happening. I can't even say when it's happening to your team because you're not white. You're Mexican and Cuban. You're not white. And you aging like someone's abuela. God, this nigga looks awful. Golly.
All among those having called for Anthony's life to be ended. With Tate saying that it should be done by firing squad and televised live, while Fuentes, he's backed the idea of a public execution, and also you have people pointing out how he once said on his show,
this young man who killed a beautiful young white person who was productive and was going to contribute to society, he should be made an example of by the law. You have this persistent problem of brutality from blacks, brutal, merciless, senseless violence from adolescent black men. I think there has to be something done about it. We should deliver the death penalty in equal measure to the killer. And in order to send that message, we have to do it in public.
and while Fuentes, he gets a ton.
What I also think is so funny is that, like, these fucking conservatives, like, they hate Hillary Clinton, right? They hate Hillary Clinton, but also, like, my nigga, like, what? That's the super predators argument, which should not only should that make them go like, huh? I agree with Hillary Clinton's take on young black men from 30 years ago at this point, but also, like, that should be a wake-up call to the fucking shit-eating libs who love the Clintons and go like, wow, our ideology almost always seems to be pretty closely connected to the fucking right, actually. Super fucking weird. Wonder why that is. Wonder why. Goat said a single murder, racially motivated or not, should never result in the death penalty. Exactly. It's fucking crazy. Toaster said, oh, he really hates us for real. Oh, 100%. The only people that Nick Fuentes probably hates more than black people are Jewish people. That's it. Goat said, this country didn't even death penalty Nazis. We made them fucking engineers. Exactly. And you know what? Goat. And I know you know this, so I guess I'm saying this for the audience, for the possums out there. I used to have, like, I used to be so confused. I had this one advisor when I was in college, and I was like, I don't really understand. Like, Republicans love Ronald Reagan. Like, Ronald Reagan is their God, right? Like, he is their Christ. He is their God figure, right? But, like, Ronald Reagan did, amnesty, right? Like, he's, you know what I mean? Like, so, like, why would they be so against immigration? And you know what this white man said to me? He looked me in my face. He goes, Scott, that's because those immigrants were white. And that shit so fundamentally broke my brain. I was like, Oh shit. You're right. And so in that same fucking fashion, right? Like like they love the death penalty. And well, unless it's unless it's the Nazis, they love they love the death penalty. And unless it's like the pedophiles who are Republicans on the Epstein list, unless it's them, in fact, man, and I think I can probably I'm gonna pull up the clip. I actually might. I'm gonna pull that up right now, actually, because my good friend Megan Toohey, who is very, very talented political communicator, political commentator out here in Chicago, had this really great take that she gave when she was on friend of the show, Democrat Consultants stream about this situation, and I think you guys should see it. Hold on, let me pull that up. Un momento.
His team didn't have a tent to go under, and so
Wait.
Thank you for calling the office.
as it started raining at the track.
Actually, let's do
I'll
this
put
one
more
first.
comprehensive thoughts about Karmelo Anthony's court case together tomorrow, but for now, I want to say, as a mother of 2 boys, I am constantly thinking about, holy shit, I am raising 2 boys in a world that is constantly priming them to be violent, and also under white supremacy. To the black mothers out there, I know that I don't understand, but all I can do is imagine, and I'm just gutted. I also saw today that Elijah McClain's murderers are absolved. I have no words to say. I just want to make space. Okay, I'll have to get into it tomorrow, but for now, all I want to say is I'm going to do my best to raise boys who will not uphold white supremacy. And also, I just want to show solidarity with all of the mothers who are afraid of the world that their boys are growing up in and how it's going to impact them, whether it's going to make them the violent ones, whether it's going to make them the victims. I'll put more comprehensive.
It started raining at the track meet, and his team didn't have a tent to go under, and so he went under the other team's tent. Austin Metcalf demanded that he leave the tent. Alleged, there are different accounts. Anthony said, touch me and see what happens, and then there was a little bit back and forth. He pulled out a knife. He stabbed him once in the heart, and then he immediately came back, turned himself in. He was sobbing. He was telling the cop. He was asking the cop he's gonna live, right? That day he was charged with first-degree murder.
First-degree murder?
Mm-hmm.
How is it? What?
Yeah, and the jury was an all-white jury. Think of Kyle Rittenhouse. He literally, an automatic rifle across state lines, killed 2 people. Brock Turner, who AR'd a girl who was unconscious behind a dumpster, what got 30 days. People are already just so willing to criminalize a black child because he's a child. We clearly are able to look at transformative justice when we look at white boys without actually giving them any accountability.
No, it's bullshit. It's a two-tiered,
so
two different
sad.
justice system. And it was an all-white jury.
And neither give justice, about our justice system doesn't give justice to anybody, because we really need to stop thinking about things in terms of crime and punishment. I said, people were like, well, Brock Turner has a future. Kyle Rittenhouse has a future. Nobody is letting Karmelo Anthony have a future.
No.
And the reality is the fear and trauma. So before we got on here, I was reading some stuff. Ta-Nehisi Coates, which I don't know if you've ever read his stuff, but it's so good. He wrote this book called Between the World and Me. And that's what it is to live in America with a black body. He talks about visible displays of power in black communities that come off as aggression, and how that actually comes from a shield, a fear of the violence that has happened generationally, because there is nobody protecting black children to make them feel safe. And so they have to put up these shields. So I'm going to have to protect myself. I don't want to just no one should have died, but also we need to address the trauma and the fear and the reality of what it is like being a black person in America. Otherwise, we're just going to keep seeing these things play out, especially if instead of actually providing opportunities for healing communities, we're just hiding someone in a cage and the other kid doesn't come back. And just the way that like guilt and violence is assumed. And then he was tried by an all-white jury. It's like everything was stacked against him from the minute he was born in his skin, and no one is going to like actually provide justice. Like justice would be healing to make it so situations like that are less likely to fucking happen. As it started raining at the track.
Yeah, man, it's super fucked up. It's super fucked up. And I think Megan, she had sent that to me because we were talking, and she's, first of all, if you guys are not already, if you guys really want like to be up on your politics, you guys should follow Megan. She's great. You should also follow Steve. But she is incredibly talented, and I told her, I go, it's crazy because until I watched the video, it didn't even really click to me the hypocrisy, the difference between like a Kyle Rittenhouse, Brock Turner, even who's the fucking bastard, George Zimmerman, who killed Trayvon, right? Like, there's all of these. There's both an assumption of innocence and of purity when it comes to white people or white passing people, especially when the violence inflicted is against black people, right? Black bodies. And I guess I want to add to Megan's point is that, like, it's not just that, like they're not giving this young man a chance or a thought about his future. It's that in their minds, right, in a white supremacist structure, in a white supremacist system, this is his future. This was always going to be his future. And anything outside of this is an aberration outside of the ridges in the structures that the system is built for, right? Like, the system is made to put young black men, young black boys, young black women, young black non-binary people into jail. That is what it exists for, right? So I if you guys are not already, you guys should follow Megan. She's great. So that I thought was like a really powerful statement. When she sent it to me, she was very like cautious and like in consideration of the fact that, like, two non-black people speaking on black issues, but I think she said it perfectly, and not for nothing. And this is what I told her. I was like, first of all, anti-blackness is a universal thing, right? Like, everyone's anti-black, including black people. And to be honest with you, like, it feels good to have someone that is not me or looks like me, like, speak out and speak on these issues, because, like, first of all, man, like, it's exhausting continuously having to argue for your own humanity. It's dehumanizing to have to always argue for your humanity. But on top of that, I feel so much less crazy when I hear someone that did not have to grow up with my experience, like, go like, no, this is crazy, this is bullshit. Like, it gives a wave of relief, right? That, like, I'm not crazy, I'm not the only person going through this, like, I'm not the only person that sees this, So I think she did a great job on that. All right, so let me get back to chat. Let me see. Toaster said, hey, did you ever get around to watching that Manosphere documentary? What was the name of that? Because I don't think I have. I mean, I've watched a lot of really good videos on the Manosphere, but I don't think I've seen that. So said Nick Fuentes can go fuck himself. Absolutely. Absolutely. Nick Fuentes, es uno Sabo, he needs to relearn the culture 100%. He is fighting to be white 100%.
Ton of views saying stuff like this. He is by no means the only one that's been emphasizing that this was a case of a black person killing a white person. For just a couple of weeks after Metcalf's death, you had Jake Lang, a pardoned January 6th rioter and the leader of a group called Protect White America. He organized a small demonstration at the stadium, which of course then drew counter-protesters, with actually Metcalf's father being among those denouncing the protest. And then connected to all that, Anthony's family, they've been harassed, doxxed, and swatted, as well as falsely accused of spending hundreds of thousands of dollars raised for legal fees on a new house and a car. And you have people like far-right influencer Benny Johnson actually arguing that Anthony's parents, they should go to prison too. And then also,
let me see what that. Benny Johnson, happy Pride to Benny Johnson, closet gay man, right here, who hates himself, hates black people, and hates gay people. Here's the biggest takeaway from the Karmelo Anthony murder trial. Carmelo's parents should be going to prison as well. I fucking hate these guys. Also, if you're not subscribed, make sure you're subscribed to the Blue Broadcast channel. We have an ad coming in 20 seconds, $5.99, or for free with a Twitch Prime.
Parents, they should go to prison too. And then also the judge who lowered Anthony's bond to $250,000, allowing him to go free while awaiting trial. He was also the target of attacks. And then last week, right, Jake Lang, he was back outside of the courthouse shouting that Anthony should be lynched. And then also on the flip side,
So like, there we go. So what the fuck is that supposed to mean? Right? Like, if all of this stuff, all this hatred is not racially motivated, what do you mean? What? I think people tell on themselves, right? People tell on themselves, and you realize what this is all really about. You know, like, I could be completely wronged and angry at a Hispanic person, person of Mexican descent, and my reaction to them would never be, you should have ICE come kidnap you and brutalize you, right? I could be wronged by a gay person, and my reaction would never be, you know, you should be burnt at the stakes like they used to do gay people, right? I could be mad at a Jewish person, and my reaction will never be, you know, you should experience what your what your family and ancestor experienced with the Holocaust, right? Because that hate's not in my heart, right? And when people express hate like that, that's when you know that hatred, that is it. That has always been at the core of what they are and what they feel, and it's fucking disgusting.
had supporters of Anthony gathering and sometimes clashing with the other group, some shouting Free Karmelo. Though also with this, I should note that there are those on the left who aren't so much in the Free Karmelo camp, right? It hasn't been a pure left versus right situation. Also, one of the major criticisms that we've seen is that none of the jurors in this case were black. Though that said, you have a number of experts saying there's no sign that was deliberate and the jury was otherwise fairly diverse. But then still, you have plenty saying that is an issue, reporting to read.
Also, it's a jury of his peers, Philip DeFranco, so how can it be diverse if there's no black people? And from what I heard, that was an intentional move by the prosecution to remove any black jurors. So
Research that's shown that public perceptions of violence can change depending on the race of the victim and offender. And actually, historically, in the US, whether or not race is a factor in an alleged crime, many say that it's often been a factor in the outcome of a trial, especially if the suspect is black and the victim's white. And so you've seen some arguing that the trial and the outcome may have looked very different if the roles were reversed. And to make their point, some have pointed to comparisons of other high-profile cases where race became a flashpoint, or many pointing to the situation with George Zimmerman, for example.
Well, and also, because what is the thing that you always hear judges and these, juries after the fact saying? It's like, oh, well, he could have been my son. Like, oh, like, yeah, like he, he has a bright future. Yeah, because there are implicit biases and empathies that we have for people that look like us. So when you have someone, a black child on trial for a crime like this, and you have no one that has that same implicit bias, that same empathies towards them, and you only have a jury full of people who have the literal opposite of that in most cases, it becomes a fucking lynch trial.
Acquitted of second-degree murder and manslaughter after shooting and killing 17-year-old Trayvon Martin, arguing self-defense. But then also with this, you have some folks on the right bringing up an example that they say proves their point about this being part of a wider issue about anti-white violence. Or with former Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, for example, comparing the Metcalf case to that of Irina Zarutska. She's the 23-year-old Ukrainian refugee who was fatally stabbed in North Carolina last August. And in that instance, the man that killed her, he was found incompetent to stand trial for now, which Greene basically argued is letting him off easy. And then, going back to Fuentes, you had him bringing up that fatal stabbing of Henry Novak in the UK that we've been talking about, writing on Twitter, he was clearly motivated by nothing other than pure racial hatred for white men, just like the Sikh killer in the UK, saying the courts need to make an example out of these pieces of shit to send a message that this evil won't be tolerated. And also the outrage around Novak's killing has contributed to the growing anger around another terrible murder in Belfast. Right, we talked about that on yesterday's show, but since then, the rage has ballooned into protests and massive riots where you've had masked men setting cars and homes on fire as families fled for safety. And this after earlier this week, you had a man brutally stabbed on the street who's currently in serious condition with injuries to his face, neck, and back, and even lost an eye. Video of that attack has gone viral online with people everywhere condemning this horrific violence. And the suspect, he's been arrested and...
All right, so while that is an important piece of news, that's not the topic we're on. So I guess we should do the Stephen A. Smith one now.
I don't know what to do. I got 5 boys. I don't know what. I ain't got nothing to tell them no more. You can't walk away no more.
Well, for starters, it's very simple. Don't bring a knife to a track meet. It's crazy because she's out here acting like her boys are in danger because a black man or child, whatever, about to be 18, was found guilty for stabbing a white kid through the heart and killing him. So he was found guilty on murder for stabbing Austin Metcalf through the heart and killing him at a track meet with a knife he was not supposed to have at that track meet. She's acting like, what is she supposed to do about her boys? Ma'am, the biggest threat to your boys is not white people. It's other black boys, other black men around.
Oh, wow. Hey, guys, I don't know if you guys hear that sound. I hear a raccoon rustling around. There is no time and no space in the United States of America and in most places in the world in which a black person is not in danger. That is the harsh reality. And no amount of sucking the shriveled dick of white supremacy is going to get you a whiteness pass, especially when you cannot remotely pass for white. And I think this is something I talk about often. Whiteness and blackness are made up, right? But whiteness is truly not real. Blackness has become real in America because of the shared cultural experience, right? The history. Whereas whiteness is like a proximity of power and a removal, right? A removal of the inherent culture, right? So like Italians used to have a culture that was removed from them that let them be white. The Irish used to have a culture that was removed away from in order to be white. Some of the Germans, right? That's how that works, right? And so whiteness is all about your proximity to power. Blackness is your distance from that power. But whiteness can only be determined and engaged and weighed off of its proximity to blackness, right? So the further you are away from blackness, the closer you are to whiteness, therefore the closer you are to power. And that's why every single group in America, except for black people, can achieve whiteness, right? That is why, because like black people, no matter how much you shuck and jive, no matter how often you vote for Republicans, no matter how often you denigrate your own people, how often you sell out, how much money you make, how much fame and success you make, even in the bins, you still a nigga in a coop, right? When it comes down to it, the white supremacist power structure can only exist because there is a permanent bottom. That bottom is black, right? So we can never achieve that, right? There's a reason why Italians got to be white after a while. Because if you had asked someone like Benjamin Franklin, he didn't consider the Germans white, he didn't consider the Italians white, the Irish white, right? He only effectively considered like your WASPs, right? Your people of British descent. Those are the only people he really considered white. But they can all achieve whiteness. And there was even when you look at certain members, certain sects of the Hispanic culture, all of them voting for Trump, right? Trying to get distance away from blackness, trying to get proximity towards whiteness, right? I mean, shit. Those of Arab descent are considered white in America. Why? My good friend Kat Abu Ghazali told me this story. There was this guy who he was in a lawsuit, and I think they were trying to take his property and whatnot. The jux of it was that and they were arguing, well, he's not white, he doesn't have the right and the ability to fight for this. And the lawyer asked them, okay, can we all agree that my client is from the Levant region? They're like, well, yeah, absolutely, he's Arab for sure. And then they were like, and where was Jesus from? The Levant region, right? And I was like, yeah. And so they're like, so are we saying that Jesus isn't white? Because Jesus is obviously white. And that is why Arabs are considered white in America. Because it's all about proximity to power, right? And religion is one of those structures of power and control. So there's that.
9 out of 10 times a black man is murdered he's murdered at the hands of another black person.
I also want to clarify that same statistic can be applied to white people, can be applied to Asian people, Hispanic people, because 90% of all violence is done interracially, and and when I or maybe it's intraracially. What I mean to say is that it is done to you by someone of your same racial group, and primarily that's because we're so deeply segregated in America, right? So like, this is a great talking point for white supremacy.
Our criminal justice system is not out here targeting black people. She's overreacting to a situation that she does not need to be reacting to in this way. And it makes her look goofy, uneducated, ignorant, and stupid. I guess black parents need to teach their children about things like this, because yeah, you bring a knife to defend yourself, but now you're possibly going to jail for the rest of your life. He was not about to be beaten to death at that track meet, and there's no need for him to have a knife. But rather than acknowledging the uncomfortable truths and realities of the situation, we just want to claim and play victim. And what am I going to tell my boys now? Tell your boys to not bring knives to track meet.
Cadet Noob said Christian nationalism is using religion to propagate white supremacy overall. Abso-fucking-lutely. Cadet, welcome to the chat. I see your first time chatter, maybe first time viewer. Welcome to the Blue Broadcast channel. That's right. Welcome to the BBC. We do a little bit of everything here. Primarily, we focus on like politics, leftism, socialism. And then we mix in some fun stuff, some silly stuff. We do pop culture, hip hop culture. Welcome to the stream. Follow if you want. Subscribe if you really like it. But if you want, tell us something about yourself, or maybe two truths and a lie. But welcome to the community.
Tell your boys to hang around with good people, make good decisions. Don't sell drugs. Don't do drugs. Don't hang out with gangbangers. Tell them to go become a productive member of society who consistently.
It's so funny too, because like, in what world is this young man hanging out with? He's at a track meet. See, and but there's this implicit understanding that like, existing as a black person in society means you are committing a crime, right? Because the greatest crime you can do in America is be black in America. Second by being Hispanic in America, Arab in America, Muslim in America, gay in America, trans in America. M said, is it messed up to say I'm looking forward to the day when most trans people are killed by trans people? Boom. And you know what? And I'm actually glad you brought that up, because that is, and obviously, right, like I was talking about like like internal racial stuff, but like you're absolutely right though. That and domestic violence, that is almost exclusively done by those outside of the group. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Trans people, gay people, like those are the cases where you are getting the violence coming from on the outside, and that's where the real problem comes in. So yeah, great call out there.
Only brings value. There are a lot of things that she could be telling her boys.
Welcome to this latest edition of Straight Shooter with yours truly. Obviously, you have to be living under a rock to not know what that video is stemming from. It's stemming from a teen by the name of Karmelo Anthony being found guilty of first-degree murder in Texas and getting sentenced to 35 years in prison. And there's a lot of people raising holy hell about it because they think that the verdict is excruciatingly unfair. Karmelo Anthony is his name. He's 19 years of age. Was indicted on first-degree murder in a fatal stabbing of 17-year-old Austin Metcalf at a track meet in Frisco, Texas. This happened in April of 2025. Prosecutors called the stabbing senseless and plain and simple murder, while the defense argued that Anthony acted in self-defense. Following the announcement of the jury's sentencing of 35 years, Metcalf's parents spoke, and obviously people were in an uproar outside. And I'll get to all of that in a second outside the courthouse. To me, I've been very, very hesitant to comment on this because obviously all the facts, you want to make sure that you have all the facts in play and what have you. And upon reading about the facts, hearing what happened from witnesses, from what was they said, Carmelo Anthony told them what happened himself, and what information and what evidence was deduced, we're looking at the fact that he was sentenced to 35 years. What I'm getting tired of is folks coming to the situation a bit late. All of this noise that's being made about the verdict, how come the noise wasn't made from open and tap to make sure proper representation was provided? So therefore, we couldn't be sitting back after a sentencing of 35 years in prison was handed down, looking to correct the error of the court's ways in your mind. Let me state for the record and get this out the way right now. I am not happy that Carmelo Anthony got sentenced to 35 years.
Whoo, Stephen A., you had me scared. You had me scared. Like, I don't like Stephen A.'s political takes. I will say, even though I think he's a little bit too, centrist, Republican-y on most issues, and even on black issues, but I will say, for all of the ilk like him that do this, I will say he more often than not is more aware of his blackness. And I don't know if that's from like his own personal experiences and realizing that like he was never going to be able to like tap dance fully in that white card space, right, to like kind of take up that space. But I appreciate that acknowledgement. Jesus. M said, is it black trans women have the hardest? 100%. And you didn't speak, and I appreciate you. I love you, M.
I'm not happy with the sentencing because I'm not happy with the makeup of the jury. 18 jurors, about 6 minorities, none of whom happen to be black. I don't believe that's being judged by a jury of your peers. Here's the reality, though. That's all I can say. That is all I can say. Carmelo Anthony murdered Austin Metcalf. There is no other way to slice it. How else do you explain, or can you explain? You at a track meet, appearing in a visitor's tent, Austin Metcalf and his brother, according to reports, come over to you asking you to leave.
Folks, sorry, I had to pause that. We have an ad coming in 30 seconds, so if you're not, make sure you're subscribed to the Blue Broadcast channel. That's right, make sure you're subscribed to the BBC for $5.99 or for free with a Twitch Prime. And like, I don't know, like obviously, like I am sad that child is has died, was killed, but like I don't know, man, like I think the confliction comes in that, like, in a just world, right? Like, first of all, in a real just world, there'd be like actual restorative justice. It wouldn't be nothing but punitive measures. But like in a just, even in the way we work the world, like there's no reason why a what's that goofy ass boy's name? Kyle Rittenhouse or a George Zimmerman, gets to walk free after killing people, one of which being a black child, off the self-defense. You know what I mean? So, like, if he got to do 35 years, so does George Zimmerman, right? So does, Kyle Rittenhouse. And if they don't have to do any time, like I am deeply sad that young man life was cut short, but like like two teenage boys getting into a physical altercation with one another, and one of them brandishing a weapon and in a heated moment attacking someone. How is that not self-defense, but stalking and then attacking and getting overpowered by a child that you were stalking and racially profiling, and then shooting him to death. How is that not? Like, you understand what I'm saying? Like, both of those things can't be true. You know what I mean? They can't be.
Because you're sitting under their tent. An argument ensues. Folks have said it spanned more than 5-6 minutes. Others said it went as long as 15. A two-hand shove is believed to have happened by one witness. Another witness said it was a one-hand shove. How does that justify Karmelo Anthony pulling out a knife and stabbing Austin Metcalf to death? How? How? Some would argue, what the hell were you doing at the track meet with a knife to begin with? Others would argue, it wasn't like you were in fear for your life. There were witnesses around. There were people around. At worst, they might have expected fisticuffs, if that. A matter of fact, one witness was quoted as hearing Austin Metcalf said, "I don't want to fight you. I don't want to fight you." But Karmelo Anthony saying, "Touch me, put your hands on me, and watch what happens." A witness, not a witness to the actual stabbing, but somebody who was in attendance in the immediate aftermath of the stabbing, reportedly, according to testimony, sworn testimony, on the stand said they went to Karmelo Anthony, who had jogged away from the area of the incident. They walked up to him and they said, "What happened?" He said he put his hands on me, as in Austin Metcalf. He put his hands on me, so I stabbed him. That's not justification for killing someone.
And I want to clarify, it's not justification if you're black. It's not justification if you're black. And in the perfect world, it's not justification, but in America, it's not justification if you're black. It is justification if you stalk a child after racially profiling them and then have an altercation with them, and then you get your ass beat in that altercation in which you are stalking a child, and then you shoot and kill them. That is justified because that child is black and that man was not. We don't just have a two-tier justice system, we have a two-tier society. And in a world where society is so rigged in one end, I can't stand here and levy such harsh criticism, if that makes sense.
I would give anything to be able to say something definitively in Karmelo Anthony's defense. If there was a shred of innocence to the incident itself, I would say so. I don't want to see a little black young man going to jail. But I don't give a damn what your race. I don't give a damn about what your race, your ethnicity is. Just because you're white and young doesn't mean you deserve to be murdered.
Yeah, see, and yes, Steven, but like, you don't fucking matter. You don't make the rules, and you are not a part of the in-group of society that does make the rules. You know what I mean? Like, the justice system cares about the race. The jury cares about the race. The police care about the race. You know what I mean? Because if it were reversed, this would be a different story. If it were reversed, we'd be out there protesting because they just let this kid off. Right? Right? because that's what it is. So I'm not saying in any way that, you know, that boy should have died or he deserved that or that this was, you know, even justified. But if Karmelo was white, we'd be in a different situation. And if Metcalf was black, we'd be in a different situation. Cadet said, have you seen the video that Metcalf dad posted about the jury? No. I don't know if you can send links in chat, but if you can, send me that.
And just because you're black and young with challenges that black folks face every single day doesn't give you a license to murder someone. That's what happened. Now, I know there's some people out there that's going to look at this, and there's a lot of thoughts that's going to come to their mind. There's a lot of people that are in an uproar right now. Of course, when you talk about Frisco, Texas, you talk about stuff in the Dallas area, anybody with an incident like this is going to want to hear from Representative Jasmine Crockett. Obviously, she had a lot to say about this, and there are others who responded to what she had to say. Take a listen.
This wasn't someone who said, hey, let me stab you 5, 6, 7 times. And so when you're looking at the punishment range, there's a reason in Texas that it goes from 5 to 99 or life, because you are looking at how intentional, like how bad was this? 35 years for a kid who had decided to go under a tent that was not his team's tent as it was raining. The fact that there was little to no mercy seen or humanity seen when this black boy said that I was scared, or the fact that honestly anybody else who did something with such a small object, all I know is that it wasn't considered unlawful carrying of a weapon because the blade was not long enough.
No accountability whatsoever.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep it being with you. I'm not listening. I don't know who the officer Tatum is. I don't know who that is, but I'm not listening to no nigga with America 250 years, because I know what that is. I know that is, player. Okay, I'm gonna pause this and send it. Hold on. Okay.
Life is not easy. God doesn't say that. God says there's going to be trials and tribulations. God says there's going to be people out there who will deceive you. People out there, I mean, if we want to go back Old Testament, eye for an eye, Sodom and Gomorrah, turn to stone, man lays with a man, you die. I mean, this is all your personal choices. It's none of my business. I stay in my lane. Just don't come in my lane with your I respect everyone until they disrespect me. I've been disrespected by so many people, so many times, while I've had to sit here and take it. I'm gonna tell you right now, Charleston White, you think you're funny? We'll see who's laughing. Drew Anthony, you're a and a coward, and you raised one. Kayla, you drunk. What'd you do to that boy to make him stab somebody? My God, what kind of mother are you? Hey, Kevin Hayes, you fucking liar. Day after it happened, how many lies did you sit and type up on your keyboard, you big keyboard warrior? You a big tough man. You still live in Baton Rouge? Remember you said you'd come to Frisco, buddy? You're supposed to find me. I told you we could sit down and talk. That's all you do. Talk, Mr. Squeaky Clean. You're the only one in your family without a damn record. I guess that's something to brag about in your culture. You people hang your hat on the dumbest shit I've ever seen. Let me make one up. Y'all can make let me make something racist up so y'all can go viral. I got a new name for Mello, okay? Because he was such this little boy y'all were trying to portray. How about Watermelon Felon? How's that one strike you?
Holy shit.
I hope he enjoyed his first night in that cell last night, because he's going to have many nights to think about what the he did. I forgave him, so I don't carry the hate. and the anger. So I don't get ate up like cancer and kills you from the inside. It's like me drinking poison and hoping it kills you. It doesn't work that way. You gotta let that stuff go or it will kill you. It will eat you up inside. So when people ask me, how can you forgive him? If I didn't, I would have wound up killing him and going to prison myself. That's how stupid people, when you get irrational, because you can't make a good decision if you're emotional. Emotion and intellect do not mix. If you're emotional, you can't come up with a logical solution. Life is not easy.
Holy shit. Jesus Christ. Thanks for sending that, Cadet. Holy shit. Like, okay, so you know, I hate to give this man the empathy that he clearly does not carry for watermelon felons or whatever the fuck. I cannot imagine the amount of pain and turmoil you must be going through as a parent and as a father to lose your child. I cannot imagine that. The amount of pain that must cause you must be immeasurable. However, this brings me back to the point I made earlier with the Nick Fuentes comment. You can have pain, you can have anger for this individual who took the life of your son, who I'm sure you loved very much. But you reveal yourself, right? Cadet Noob, I appreciate the follow. You reveal yourself. You reveal who you really are and what's in your heart, right? I could be wronged deeply by a person of Mexican descent, a Hispanic person. You will never hear out of my mouth that, threatening to call ICE, right? I could be hurt by a, queer person. You will never hear the F slur out of my mouth, right? I can be hurt by a Jewish person. You will never hear the K slur out of my mouth, right? Because that is not hate that I hold in my heart. I might have hate for that individual, but I have that hate for that individual as a person, as a human being, not something that's feeding into my own racist notions, right? He revealed himself. And not only did he reveal himself, but you revealed the environment and the ideology that you were either directly or indirectly teaching to your children, that more than likely, or I should say possibly, fed into the way that they approach that interaction. And that's not to justify what happened to him at all, but I see a clear picture now. That's fucking disgusting. And I'm still sorry that he lost his son. Look at that. Only an immense amount of centuries of brutality can give you the perspective to show a level of empathy and nuance like that. So, we have an ad coming up in 20 seconds. So if you're not, please make sure you're subscribed to the Blue Broadcast for $5.99 or for free with a Twitch Prime.
And y'all, taking up for these police officers that's trained. That, do you know how different it is to be at a track meet and a guy say, "Move out of my tent," and he say, "I don't want to fight you," and you stabbed him, compared to a police officer who people are trying to beat and kill? The crazy thing is that they know that that's how it is, but the white kid is trying to reason with him and end up stabbing him. When he know doggone well, if them white boys came under his tent at his school, people be like, "Well, man, you got to get up out this tent or we're going to start throwing blows." And they act like they victims. knowing that they would have been fighting instead of talking in the first place.
To us, especially to teach our young black boys, because we have definitely seen this in our community where the slightest of things has touched off something that can't be reversed.
That's
and
true.
Decision making and
That's true.
discernment and wisdom. And those are not easy conversations to have in a world that sees them the way that they do, but we have to have them to save them.
The first woman was Representative Jasmine Crockett out of Texas. The second was Officer Tatum, a popular podcaster who was just on this show recently debating someone on the liberal side. He's a conservative. And the last person was Jamel Hill, who's been in this business for many years, doing outstanding work as a reporter, first for ESPN and obviously now for The Athletic. Everybody has a point. This is not about both sides. No, this is not what that's about. I'm just speaking about what they said there. See, you're not going to hear me say that Karmelo Anthony didn't deserve to be convicted. You had no business having a knife at the incident. You damn sure had no business pulling it out. And you damn sure had no business stabbing somebody in the heart, the chest, right ventricle, or what they said. You had no business doing that. Over an argument? For what?
This is the thing. Like, and I don't know the fullness of the situation. I wasn't there. But, like, I know Texas. I know America. And if you think it is unreasonable for a black boy in Texas, in America, to, under the perfect machinations of the Republican white supremacist idea, if you think it's unreasonable for him to be carrying a weapon at home, I think you are sadly fucking mistaken. You are sadly mistaken. You are sadly mistaken.
One incident ruined the rest of your life. You were crying after the verdict. You were crying approaching and re-entering the courtroom for sentencing. Because obviously if you had to do it all over again, it's the last thing you would do. Why? So nobody is trying to absolve him from the heinous act that he committed.
See, this is the problem with people like fucking Stephen A. Smith. Like, it is either a lack of education or a commitment to both sidesism, being a moderate, which we all know in America, being a moderate means just being a right wing. You show this image of a guy, a protester, I assume. I don't think it's a cop, but maybe, with a bulletproof vest, LARPing, with a sign that says "White Lives Matter" and whitereplacement.org. Stephen A. Smith, what do you think the great replacement theory is? You know what? Let's do two things. Let's go to whitereplacement.org. Let's see what that's about. Whitereplacement.org. Let's see. Oh, it takes you to Crusader Active Club. Join the Crusades. Take back this country. A nationwide movement of believers, patriots, neighbors, standing watch in every state, in every town, in every street. Enlist. Current total of invaders in the U.S. 90 million. What do they mean by that, you think? Let's see if they have any more information. Let's see. Oh, they don't. I wonder why. Let's look up Great Replacement Theory. Let's break it down. Let's go to PBS. In fact, Let's see. What is the Great Replacement Theory? Simply put, the conspiracy theory says there is a plot to diminish the influence of white people. Believers say this goal is being achieved both through the immigration of non-white people into societies that are largely dominated by white people, as well as through simple demographics, with white people having lower birth rates than other populations. The conspiracy theories more racist adherents believe Jews are behind the so-called replacement plan. White nationalists march at Charlottesville, Virginia rally that turned deadly in 2017, chanting, "You will not replace us. Jews will not replace us." So, yeah. So it's not on both sides of Stephen A. Smith. Sorry, I don't know what to tell you. It's not. It's not both sides. It's not middle ground. There is a group of people who have the same ancestry as you, fighting for their ability to have safety and equality in America. And then there are people like this who want to eradicate anyone that doesn't look like them. Those are the two sides, and they are not equal. Goat said, "It's a pocket knife, and this is America. Every kid there had a pocket knife. 100%. 100%. I go everywhere with a pocket knife." What are we talking about? George Zimmerman shot and killed a 17-year-old black child because he assumed he was a criminal in a neighborhood that he shouldn't have been in. And he shot him after confronting him, getting his ass whooped because, let's think about this. If George Zimmerman, right, was an individual who's half white, half Hispanic, if he was stalking a very pretty white woman, white girl, teenage girl, and harassing her, he'd be in jail. Let alone if he killed her, he'd be in jail. But that's where the proximity comes in, right? Because to blonde hair, blue eye, white woman, George Zimmerman is probably an immigrant, probably from one of those countries, you know, that are not. What did the president say? Not sending their best, right? So in comparison to that, he falls closer on the black end of the spectrum. But when the violence is committed against a black man, a black child, well, he's all the way on the white side, because the system exists to subjugate and, when necessary, eradicate black people. That is what it exists for. Subjugation. And using the proximity levels of power to control those that do fit into the in group but do not have the capital to properly actually benefit from it, right? And that's the crazy part about white supremacy, right? Like, it hurts white people too. It is a tool used by the powerful, rich, and wealthy to have a permanent underclass that they can subjugate and eradicate when necessary, and use that underclass to give a leg up to those that fit in the in group but do not have the capital. And as long as they can keep those groups separated, there will never be class consciousness, right? There'll never be an uprising of the proletariat, right? It's so simple, it's almost stupid, but it works, so it's genius.
But listening to Representative Jasmine Crockett, I would ask an Officer Tatum or anybody else to pay attention to the specificity of what she said in this regard. She's talking about the 35-year sentencing. She's not touching on his innocence or guilt. And the reason why you touch on the 35-year sentencing, remember, she's licensed to practice law in Texas and Arkansas and federally, so she'd have a clue about what she's talking about. The reason why she brought this up is because of the case of Case and Allison. May not have heard that name before. But this person, Case and Allison, who obviously is not black, I shouldn't say obviously, but is not black, was sentenced to 10 years in prison after a 2022 stabbing at Belton High School that killed 18-year-old Jose Ramirez during a bathroom fight.
What the fuck did I just say? I would love being this right if it wasn't so fucking sad. It's all about the proximities. White kid stabs and kills Hispanic kid, gets 10 years. Right? Right? If this is blackness and this is whiteness, right? Well, then blackness, whiteness. Hispanic kid falls on the blackness side. White kid, obviously on the whiteness side, right? You can figure almost everything out in America if you just do it from that scale. You can call it the blue gradient scale of racism and white supremacy.
This is also in Texas. But Allison was not convicted of murder. A jury instead found him guilty of criminally negligent homicide, a much lower level offense under Texas law. So what you're having is a situation where the law in Texas allows you to impose a sentencing of anywhere from, 5 years to 40 years or whatever it is. Whereas when it's criminally negligent homicide, that's a far lesser charge. So what they're saying is it's a similar incident. And if the incidents were similar, why is one sentenced for 10 years and the other is for 35? See, that's the discussion we should be having, at least one of them. The discussion we should be having is, are we supposed to be judged by a jury of our peers? I see a black person on that jury. They said minorities. What kind of minorities? Asians? Native?
But and this was my point earlier on in the video. Like, that's what it doesn't matter if you don't give a damn what the person's race is. Stephen A. Smith, you don't make a fucking decision in this country. We don't make people that look like us don't make a fucking decision in this country, including the black president that we had. We don't get a say in it. But the justice system definitely cares. The juries definitely care. The judges definitely care. And this isn't some abstract idea of like, oh, well, a liberal state versus both in Texas. Fucking think, Stephen. You're so close. You're so fucking close. Jesus.
Americans, Hispanics, what? I didn't see any black people on that jury. That's about it. Outside of that, Karmelo Anthony has no hat to hang on.
But that's not, Stephen, that's not a small thing. That's the thing. You're describing the thing. Black people are no different than anyone else. We're not ever going to be perfect, just like no one else is. Black people are going to commit crimes. Black people should be offered the exact same rights and representation as everyone else. That's the point. That's the whole fucking point, Stephen. We didn't just end slavery, right? We put in systems to make sure that we consistently have an endless flow of black bodies to do slave labor for this country. How do we get them in there? We create a justice system that criminalizes blackness on every level. That it's not a small thing. That's the fucking thing, Steven. That's the thing. That's it.
Has no hat to hang on. You can slice it any way you want to. Can't do it. Can't do it. But what Jasmine Crockett was bringing up is a point worth considering. Why was it this criminally negligent homicide as opposed to first-degree murder? In the days to come, I'm certainly going to have somebody on the air with me to explain the difference and why one was such a case and one was not. One was first-degree murder and the other was negligent homicide. Why? When both involved stabbing incidents. Why? That's about it. Those are the two arguments. Those are the two arguments. I'm going to repeat it again. Criminally negligent homicide compared to first-degree murder. One involving a 10-year sentence, the other involving a 35-year sentence. Obviously, Karmelo Anthony getting the stiffer of the two.
We do know why.
And the other is the makeup of the jury. That's it. Anything else that we're talking about, anything else we're arguing about, anything else we're going back and forth about, got to pay attention.
Chat, we've got a ad coming in 45 seconds. So if you're not, make sure you're subscribed to the Blue Broadcast channel. That's right. Make sure you're subscribed to the BBC for $5.99 or for free with a Twitch Prime. And you're absolutely right. It's wrong. That's it. It's wrong. That's it.
You got to stop it. Because it gets into a more deeply rooted problem. So many times we look at certain situations and we ask ourselves, why do we continue to go through this? Because the system is against us. This ain't the argument. This ain't the time to make that argument.
No, Steven, this is the time to make that argument. This is the time to make the argument. There is no other time to make the argument. This is the argument. The system is against us. You just saw a system in Texas in which a white child stabs and kills a Hispanic child and gets 10 years in negligence or what the fuck ever, and a black child who stabs and kills a white child and gets first-degree murder 35 fucking years. That's the point. That is the system that is against. What the fuck do you think it's called the justice system for? It's the justice system. The system is against us. The system was made specifically to put black bodies back into slavery. Capitalism cannot work without a permanent underclass that is not paid or severely underpaid. That's the point. That's the whole shebang. That's it. Nothing else exists. Just that. There is no other conversation because that's it.
You were at a track meet. And at that track meet, you have an abundance of people around. Your life wasn't in danger. You might have tried to make the argument about self-defense. It wasn't holding water with the jury, who came back with a verdict in 3 hours. 3 hours. That's all it took for them to come back with a verdict. And the same jury was the one that handed down sentencing. So the issue is with the jury, and the issue is with the stiffness of the penalty. My point is, I'm watching everybody out there now, and everybody wants to make noise now. Where was the noise before? Activist. Other lawyers. Supporters. Politicians, etc. Where the hell was everybody earlier? Because I didn't see it. The time to make the argument about the jury, the time to make the argument about his representation, The time to make the argument about the flagrant unfairness of the system, meaning the charges that were levied against him, there should have been a lot more noise. Should have been a lot more noise. I'm not saying there was no noise. I'm not saying nobody was saying anything. I'm saying there should have been a lot more noise. That's not what happened. And now here we are. We're in a situation that you simply can't get around. You know what really hits home for me? I think it would hit home for any parent who sends their child to high school, is fully aware that they're competing in track, and then get a call or a knock at the door, and they're told that their child is never, ever coming home again, that he's died. I think the father of Austin Metcalf, Jeff Metcalf, put it in a way any parent would feel when he said this right here. According to the article, said that his son's death destroyed the person he used to be. Quote, people think grief is sadness. It is not. It is rage. Pure, unfiltered rage. He said as he slammed his fist on a table. Pure, unfiltered rage. What parent wouldn't feel that way? You come home and you learn that you've lost your son.
I mean, I think we know that it didn't change who he was. I think it maybe just peeled back all the layers and showed us who he really was. And I think that can be fair, true, and honest, but like his son getting murdered didn't make him racist. Still sad, but it didn't make him racist.